Abang, ada masalah abang kat rumah bang. Apa dia masalah dia? Bang, pipe bocor abang. Lepas tu kat gate punya depan ada painting abang. Jadi sekarang hari kita punya topik is about handover early. Kira masalah-masalah yang akan people face when they take over the house and the seller kira macam grant the buyer early move-in. Okay? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Akbar Arif di sini dan sekarang saya berada di Simpang located at property shop at Simpang Bedok. Kita betul-betul kat depan Spice So jangan malu, jangan segan. Kalau ada anything property related question, just drop in, okay? Make sure ada orang kat dalam, Okay. So now back to the topic about this early move-in, It is quite a common practice because but people need to know the implication that they will meet when you give the buyer the right to enter the house before even completion. What are the pros and what are the cons? Okay, pros and cons lah. Okay. So okay lah, normally where the pros part kira memang good lah, basically ultimately is because they want to facilitate the buyer, because some buyer dorang punya aspiration for the new house macam-macam, dia nak renovate ni, nak renovate tu, tapi makan masa renovation ni lama juga kan. So they sometimes they don't have enough time for their current house that they are staying in. That's why they request either like early move-in or kalau boleh no extension lah, but now we are not talking about extension issue, we are talking about early move-in. So basically some seller they are very kind, so they facilitate, so basically they will allow renovation lah, to accommodate lah the buyer. So other than that, basically one of the reason, the most popular reason is about logistic convenience. So basically it's a seller, dia dah jual rumah, barang pula banyak, kalau rumah dia orang pindah dari rumah kecil pergi rumah besar tak ada isu lah. But kebanyakan people who's right sizing daripada rumah besar pergi rumah kecil, Allahu Akbar, barang banyak doi kan. Sometimes kadang-kadang rumah yang diorang baru beli ni pun tak muat, so these are the stuff people request lah for, so they can letak barang-barang diorang, Then of course it's also about the bridging gap lah, because of the fact that selling and buying timeline matching, all this kind of stuff. So of course it does help by a lot if somebody can move in even much more earlier before the completion, okay? But ultimately all this thing is done normally due to good faith lah, Normally the seller think lah, alamak, dia punya buyer ni baik lah, baik, sopan santun, kira okay, boleh lah bang. So everything is good, and then so the seller normally will say, never mind lah, just give them earlier so that they can get their life to move on as planned, Okay, now this is where the bad part comes in, the cons, okay? So what happen if, let's say, once you give the keys to the buyer and they move in, okay? Now, okay, allowing, okay, what are the risk factor that you will need to know, Okay, let's say if it's allowing for early renovation. Okay lah, you say you kasih lah renovate, the fella to start to renovate. Okay, once if they start to renovate, sekali during completion, the thing never go through lah. Maybe because of some problems like finances, something go screwed whatsoever, that maybe miscalculation or whatsoever lah, it could be even death in the family, So if let's say they already start renovation, kau tembok sebelah dah hilang, tempat tu tingkap dah tak ada, lepas tu completion never go through, kau nak buat apa dengan rumah separuh jalan? So basically, if you want to start marketing back, you know what's going to happen? Alamak, you kena reinstate balik. So this is one of the problem if you allow your buyer to proceed with renovation plans. Alright? So okay, that's one of the issue. Okay, another thing, big issue is that buyer ask for access to bring few boxes. Okay, nak simpan barang. Okay, when they simpan barang ni kira kan, sometime you do not know lah what is inside their stuff lah, could it be flammable, all this kind of stuff. So these are all the tendency of risk, that you will be putting in when you allow these people to put stuff inside your house. But of course, this thing, of course, you can clarify with them lah. Again, this is not. This is not based on what they call it, macam good faith lah. Basically, this is something like you thinking out of the box. Something that could happen if it happens lah. Okay. Trust in good extension. Without a strict and legal binding early occupation agreement, it is very difficult to force a buyer to leave if they refuse to vacate after the deal go. So kalau you dah kasi orang masuk kan, what happen is that sekali never go through sekarang macam mana you nak halau dorang rumah dorang dah jual, sekarang dorang tak ada rumah nak tinggal, you are stuck with them, and sometimes it's a bit of an issue, to give these people to ask them to vacate the area accordingly. Alright, so other than that, okay, avoid temporary storage costs, basically, some people they take it for granted, so ultimately kan, all these kind of cases boils down to one thing lah. Is it advisable for seller to allow buyer to move in early? Okay, this particular part, I have basically as agents, tentatively, they have to look into all the possibilities and advise their clients accordingly. Because you see, let's say if we were to serve buyers, right, normally we would tell the buyers that we rather not, ask for early move-in or all this stuff, because there might be complication, So of course, if complication happens, it is extra and unnecessary work for almost all parties. Alright, so for the seller case pula kan, tentatively if I'm serving the seller kan, early move-in is I wouldn't recommend lah, because of the implication that they will implication of things that might go wrong as you go along. Okay, when come to this, in terms of personal experience that I have, I got quite a few of them. One of them is actually one of my transaction at which we allow the tenant, the buyer to move in early, because basing that the client that come, the buyer that come in, they are very nice, so you say, hey, we can move in early. So called happened that the seller, she already have a place to stay, so she's okay to actually let the buyer take over early, because the rumah pun actually not much renovation need to be done. Okay, so what happened is that after we hand over the keys, they just a few days after that, they call me and telling me that they got problem with the water system. The pipe burst. And the worst part, basically, okay, completion is still a week away. So now, this is bang, this one is this one should be covered by the seller, because it is still under their purview, because the house still belong to them. So alamak, macam mana boleh burst what do you do? So the funny part is that this particular pipe that burst is not the what they call it, yang kat luar ni tau. It is inside the wall. So macam mana Kalau misalnya if it's outside the wall, we can always think that probably it's because of the buyer maybe mishandling whatsoever. But now this is inside the wall. So it requires hacking of wall, one of the ceramic tiles, just to expose the pipe which is within the wall. So all these things, for example, so when I talk to the seller, then they say, alamak, macam mana ni So by hook or by crook, it need to be settled, because otherwise the whole water, the whole house got no water, because I think that is one of the main pipe that is coming into the house and is hidden inside the tile. I'm not so sure how come I think it's nak cakap rumah baru, because even the new house also, the pipe is also exposed, But somehow or other, I think probably when the seller bought the house the first time they bought it, I think renovation is already done, and the pipe somehow or other was hidden inside one of the tiles. So this is one of the problem. Then another part was that they discover some paint stain on the gate, which I myself didn't notice. So they took a photo and video. Then I was so shocked. Then where does this paint come from? So then I kind of like backtrack, and found out actually that house got some loan shark issues. But the loan shark issues wasn't that particular house. It was the neighbor. The neighbor that is, I think, a few doors away. Wow, these people already pakaliao. They want to get the money from this particular guy. The neighbor punya rumah pun dia sapu kan. So, but the thing is that somehow or other they kind of, I think my previous seller, the seller, right? They did do a bit of touch up, but somehow or other the paint stain is still there. But it is something that I also didn't notice. So I guess out of goodwill, because to start off with, the seller was already a bit pissed off with the pipe issue, right? But and they come up with this gate issue lagi, and plus actually in front of the door there is a mat, and underneath the mat it was actually a stain, a paint stain, So I'm not so sure. So basically they just cover it up, So there's nothing much that I can do for that particular part lah. But as for the gate, well, I guess, I just don't want thing to escalate even more. So end up I was the one who put up the money for the painting of the gate. You see? So basically somehow or other, kita pun terbabit juga. Tal lain orang punya hal, So with regards to that and a few more others, I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of bad experience coming from this particular early move-in. See? But let's say if you just do it after completion, then it's a no done deal lah. Basically everything is done already lah. The keys hand over, the house is legally yours. Whatever you want to do with your house, you can just proceed. You want to renovate, you want to pecah ni, nak pecah tu, pecah, carry on lah, But basically everybody has got their own slate already lah. The sellers move on, the buyer have got to move on with whatever they buy. Because it's Kevin and Mtor, whatever you buy, that's what you get. Alright, I think that's about it. Kalau di Simpang, jomlah sembang. Kami saya Muhammad Akbar Arif dari Property Shop at Simpang Bedok. Kebetulan ni sekarang tengah bulan puasa, jadi saya mengucapkan selamat berbuka puasa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Semangat Simpang, nak jual, nak beli, nak sewa rumah. Call kami, senang hati, urusan semua beres sudah.